Scentland, the land of scent. Wow, nice, short and sweet. Hey, it's Chris back with myself this time. It's not a fragrance review, it's rather a Q&A about Chris and not Scentland, okay? I decided to do this because in the past 6 years since I'm doing this, a lot of questions and comments came up, and I decided to reflect on some of those. Some come up repeatedly, and some I answered maybe already, some not, but I really wanted to give you a little bit of a closer picture in regards to who am I, whom you have actually subscribed to, okay? I could do this in this live chat thing. I didn't want to do that. I'm not a fan of that. I could have selected questions myself, which I did not do because I wanted this to be spontaneous and genuine. So I asked my wife to collect some of those questions that she thinks are repeatedly coming up or seem to be the most interesting. So she picked. I asked her to pick 10. I can see 9 here, but anyway. And you know, my wife does a lot of, she's very much involved in the whole project, and she's very often the camera woman behind the camera, so she happily volunteered to collect these. So let's take a look in this list, and why I said it's short and sweet, it's mainly just a word that she wrote down, and she assumes that then I know what the question will be, but let's see if it works. That's the beauty of a live thing, unprepared live stuff. First one, origins, and I guess I do remember actually questions in regards to my accent and you know, where you're coming from and all the different occasions I'm doing the shoots and the reviews in. And well, just shortly, quickly, in a nutshell about me. My parents were Hungarian, both of them. There was a big age gap between them, 22 years, and my father was a doctor, and together they traveled throughout Europe and elsewhere in the 60s, working very much, doing projects in Paris, at the Madame Curie Institute there, in Manchester. The name of the hospital escapes me, but I have it. Actually, I can check it. I can track it. In Baghdad for 3 years, in Baghdad in the 60s, in Iraq, obviously, and they ended up then in Germany, and that's where that's where my story starts, because I was born there. Obviously, I've been raised bilingual, Hungarian and German, and then I got obviously English and Italian on board with me, so these are my 4 languages. And English and Italian I learned mostly through music, listening to music of different sorts, because I think that music really helps you to, especially if you have already 2 languages, it's easier to learn the 3rd and 4th and 5th. I'm currently doing my, trying to improve my French, which is not that bad. It was it's fairly close to Italian. And I think that through music you can do that, because the melodies help you a lot, and the way the meaning and the words and the sentences flow. It's much easier than to take a book and just try to learn a language from a book, right? So that's for me. That was the way that I learned the additional languages. That's, interesting maybe, because after my father died, we moved back with my mother a few years after that, back to Hungary. Where I've been visiting prior to that a few times, and but that was since that was still in the socialist communist time. So I actually have seen and grew up on both sides of the Iron Curtain, okay, and I've seen the good and bad parts on both sides of the system of capitalism and socialism and all that, and that added a lot. To my upbringing, to my values, how I look at things and stuff like that. So that's about my origins. I think that's enough. Music, well, it fits actually, because I just mentioned music. Yeah, music is obviously fairly important to me as well. And I grew up very much listening to Elvis, for example. And I was listening a lot to Genesis, Phil Collins, and what else? Status Quo, and and Germans as well. Marius Müller-Westernhagen. I loved and still love the Austrian Falco, obviously. And then I progressed, as you grow older, I progressed into other types of music, such as I always thought that, and I think now very much so, that music originates from blues. I mean, real music is black music, and the blues really is the cradle of modern pop and rock music and rock and roll and whatnot. And I discovered a fantastically genuine blues musician called Junior Kimbrough, and it's Mississippi Delta blues and R.L. Burnside and stuff like this. I totally adore. Amazing black musicians that play the most genuine music I've ever heard, I have to be honest. I progressed even further. Obviously I was listening to a bit of Fun Loving Criminals. I've been to a few gigs there, and I started to appreciate some heavier music as well. I like, and I've been to many Metallica concerts. My first one was in '93. But I've also been listening to good bits of Pantera, and I've been to Phil Anselmo and the Illegals concert last year. And I mentioned the Italians, how I learned the language through the music. Toto Cutugno, who I've seen in concert last year, amazingly genuine artist. I listened to a lot of Toto Cutugno, and of course my absolute favorite, Vasco Rossi, Vasco, Viva Vasco. So that's my musical influences, but I also listen to a lot of opera, especially when I was around 20 years old. I went to the opera on a regular basis, and Donizetti, Puccini, Verdi were really the ones that I liked. I remember Gianni Schicchi or Il Tabarro by Puccini, or La Forza del Destino by Giuseppe Verdi. I mean, still got goosebumps from that stuff. So I totally appreciated listening to Pavarotti or Caruso. It's fantastic. It's amazing. It is really fantastic. So this is the type of music that maybe I forgot some stuff, but in general, this is what I'm involved with mostly. And movies is written up here as well. It's part of this whatever. Maybe I can't read it properly. Anyway, movies, yeah. A lot of French movies, obviously, with Alain Delon, my favorite actor ever. Le Grange Purelé, L'Homme Pressé, La Piscine. Movies like the Parole de Flic. What else? Obviously, American, Italians as well. Obviously, some German movies as well. For example, with Götz-George the Todmacher, it was a fantastic movie. Just I'm trying to quickly improvise here what the movies are that I really like. I mentioned American Hollywood movies. Obviously, I'm a huge fan of Jaws. I'm probably one of the biggest fans of Jaws ever, right? I like to think of myself I like that. I love Jaws. I love Steven Spielberg's childish way of using fantasy and imagination. I think that's fantastic. He's really a brilliant mind, and a brilliant director. Now I don't watch that many stuff that he's doing in the past 15 years, let's say, but prior to that I was really a sucker for him. Duel, for example, one of his first major movie there. And Jaws, and there's my favorite movie scene of all time is when Roy Scheider is sitting together with his wife and Hooper at the dinner table, and they are drunk already, and they Hooper suggests to cut the shark open that's laying in a warehouse, and first Brody, the chief of police, played by Roy Scheider, hesitates, but then he decides to go for it. Obviously, the wine that he's drinking is making some impact there, and then his wife is asking him, "Martin, can you do that?" "I can do anything. I'm the chief of police." And then he drinks a little bit more. And sometimes I'm in the mood to play this with my wife, so I ask her, "Please ask me the question, please." And then she hesitates. "No, I don't want to. No, please ask me the question." Then she asks me, "Martin, can you do that?" "I can do anything. I'm the chief of police." And we have to play. I totally adore that. Okay, so that's it. But there's lots of other movies that I really like. I can't think of. I love Klaus Kinski, especially with Werner Herzog, absolutely brilliant. But also I love Roman Vacation, and I like Audrey Hepburn, and I love Jeremy Brett, George Peppard, so many great actors, and also of course Visconti and many directors of the time. But I don't want to get lost in the topic. Books is the third point or fourth point, depending on how I take the movie point. Anyway, books. Well, yeah, I'm not a great bookworm. Obviously, I've done my classics at the time, long time ago. Oscar Wilde and Bernard Shaw and Dante Alighieri, La Divina Commedia, if I'm not mistaken. That totally captured me. These days I read, I could say that I read Balzac and Proust, but it's not the case. I love autobiographies, okay, I really love them. No matter by whom, the most important that they should be well written. For example, I read the biography by Obama. I didn't like it. I don't know if he wrote it or not, but I didn't like that one. That's so far probably the only autobiography I didn't like, and it's nothing against the man. Just it didn't capture me. I love, one of my favorite is the autobiography. There's actually two of John McEnroe, and why do I like these? Because I learn from them. I try them like a sponge. I'm trying to suck up the information, trying to learn from it and trying to adjust myself. And where I find similarities, for example, with John McEnroe, he has this temper problem. He has a very quick and tough temper, and so do I. So it's interesting to listen to read how he's thinking, how he's trying to work on it, what sort of feedback he gets from family and friends. So that's very, very important and very, very interesting. And there is a great one I read at the moment from Wolfgang Job, the fashion designer, German fashion designer, artist, Die einzig mögliche Zeit. And that is something that I totally like to read these days. And the one I like the most so far is, surprisingly, is the autobiography of Andre Agassi. Okay, Andre Agassi. Wow, a stunning book. You got to read it. Weird preferences / hobbies. Okay, wow, weird preferences. What? I'm sure I didn't get a question like that on a comment. What are your weird preferences? But my wife decided to put it that way. But maybe she wants to trigger something that I say something. What weird preferences? Weird hobbies? Well, I like, for example, good example maybe. I like the sound of cutlery. Especially if you walk on the streets and you can hear from the terrace of a restaurant on the sidewalk, the sound of cutlery. I love that. It's so, I don't know, cups and just the sound of cutlery. It's fantastic. I really love that. I love chasing down celebrities. I have met a good few of them, from Anthony Perkins through Klaus-Jürgen Wusso and the Italian football team, and Ray Wilson and Harvey Keitel, and I could go on. I like that for some reason. Actually, Ray Wilson became a friend. If you wonder who Ray Wilson is, he's the guy that was playing in Stillskin, and then for a few years replaced Phil Collins in Genesis. So that's something that I like because of, not because of being a fanboy, but I like the rush of adrenaline that's happening when I'm, you know, I sort of chase up somebody. Okay. What else? I love to walk around barefoot. Whenever I can, I do that. What else? I love gardens. I don't know anything about botanics, or I have no botanical knowledge whatsoever, actually. But I love to be in a garden. I love to walk in a garden. I love to somehow. It has some energies. It doesn't have to be a big garden. It can be just like a 3 square meter place. But some gardens and some sections of gardens have great vibes about them. I can spend 2-3 hours just walking back and forth. I don't know. It's maybe that's a weird preference that I have. Definitely, I think I love a good dinner. I adore a good dinner. I really love a good dinner from aperitif until digestif. I just totally love a great dinner by myself or with somebody. Obviously, in company, it's much better. But if I'm alone, let's say, and the waiter or waitress is good, that's also a great magic happening there. Obviously, food and the wine needs to be perfect as well. I really like that. I love that tremendously with a good friend or with my wife or family member. Or my daughter, for example, love to go out and have a nice dinner with my daughter. I totally love that. Okay, so that's it. And a great hobby is that I love the story and the history. I studied, sort of self-studied the history of the 5 New York and La Cosa Nostra mob families, and I actually held a presentation at the Rotary Club in front of all those hotshot lawyers and academics. I held a presentation about the 5 La Cosa Nostra families in New York City in the 20th century. So that was a fairly interesting experience to do that. So that's can't think of more. I'm sure I forget things, but c'est la vie, huh? Bracelet. I think it's this, right? Yeah. I remember a question in regards to that. That is a elephant hair bracelet with a golden clasp. I wear this for 14 years now, since 2016. And I wear this because I've seen it worn by my great hero and idol, Alain Delon. But also Michael Schumacher wore it during his years in Ferrari, or Nicolas Sarkozy, or Phil Collins for a while. It's a very nice. It's fairly expensive to purchase and even to find. It's kind of difficult. But the good thing is that it doesn't look expensive. So it's not like a fucking big gold chain or something. It's very nice, and the way you can tell it's elephant hair is when you walk into water with it. It softens up, and it's because it was a living thing, right? And actually you shouldn't go into water, because then it can, you know, fall apart, the whole bracelet. So you got to keep it dry. But important that the elephant does not have to die in order to for this bracelet to be made, because this is being made from elephant tail hair, the hair on the tail of the elephant, which the elephant naturally loses the same way we lose hair. The elephant loses hair, and they collect it, and they make these braided nice elephant hair bracelets. So that's the story of the bracelet. Work. Just very quickly, because this is boring. I do sales. I always done sales. I've sold ice cream I even sold ice cream to. This is the way I wanted to formulate. I even sold ice cream to hotels and restaurants at the time when I was young. But then I went into assistance, insurance, electronics, which I recently returned to, and I was in real estate sales as well. I've participated in lots of trainings, held lots of trainings, sales trainings myself, build up teams and all that. And again, another great movie with the title escapes me, with Alec Baldwin when he's playing the big hotshot sales guy, telling all the losers how to do sales, and Jack Lemmon is pouring a coffee in the background, and Alec Baldwin says, "Put that coffee down. Coffee is for closers only." And then Jack Lemmon looks like this because they don't know the guy. Yeah, stuff like this. So sales, fairly straightforward sales. Okay, that's it. What do I hate? Well, hate. It's a fairly strong word. Hate. I don't really like the word because it's very negative. Although I'm capable of hating very much. I'm like an elephant. I don't forget good things when people do and mean good with me. I never forget that. I'm always grateful for that. And the same way around when people use my goodwill and betray my goodwill and use my time and energy and effort. I hate that. Yeah, I hate that really. And I don't forget. And sometimes I wish for revenge, but I don't go anywhere and don't shoot anybody. Just relax, you know. But I have it in my veins, this revenge thing, an eye for an eye. Okay, I have that, and I always had it, and I don't forget. I'm like an elephant. Like, you know, I know what people did against me, when, whom, what, why. And I know the good ones as well. Like, I have some people that helped me so much that I'll never forget, and I'm grateful till the end of my life. So, yeah, that's about that topic. I don't want to really dig deeper in that. Food. Well, food is well, one of my hobbies is traveling. Okay, we do it until it was possible to do a lot of travel. We did a lot of travel with my wife, and my wife is very good in locating good restaurants. Okay, wherever we go, it could be Vienna, Paris, New York, where we got married. We always try to find good restaurants and local ones, obviously. So a nice fish restaurant, for example, in Paris, or a nice restaurant in Bologna, for example, or the perfect Wiener Schnitzel in Fiegelmüller. But also in Paris, we went to some Afghan places, or Afghan place to be spot on, and Ethiopian, and I love Indian as well, and I have my favorite Chinese dumpling place in New York City that I had even on my wedding day. I believe it or not, the best dumplings are. There's a place in Chinatown in New York that is just amazing, really. So I love my food, and of course the food that was cooked by my mother and my grandmother, the traditional Hungarian stuff that I really like a lot. Paprikás, csirke, kovászos uborka, chicken stew with some stuff, and you know, these small dumplings. That's fantastic. Wow, yeah, you know, yeah. So food, yeah, it's what I said. I mentioned the dinner, right? So the dinner stuff, food. I really love food. And regrets. Regrets. Yeah, there was a time when I thought I don't regret anything. Je ne regrette rien. Rien. Je ne regrette rien. Edith Piaf, huh? Edith Piaf, talking about music. Yeah, no, the topics keep coming back. Yeah, what do I regret? There was a time that when I thought that I don't regret anything, because I thought to myself, I have this, you know, I'm such a hot shot, I don't regret anything. But those times are gone. I regret very much. If I regret something, then I regret stuff. I regret that I wasn't sharp and clever and determined enough when I started my life around 20, and I didn't know what way I wanted to go in my life. You know, I didn't think about what do I need to do, what sort of goal do I have, what do I need to do, whom do I need to talk to, what do I need to invest in it, time, energy, effort, money. I just went along as life came. I took life as an open door, right? I walked straight in, and things kept flying at me, and I adjusted. And it's good because you gain some life experience, but also you get, you know, beaten up on the road along the way. It makes you become the one that you are, and I think it's very important that you are able to have regrets, and you are able to say, I've been wrong a few times. Like I totally been wrong so many times in my life. I had weird political views. I looked down on people. I talked probably badly to people, and I probably let people down as well, and said some stupid and acted some stupid things that I now know were not right. And if I still have the opportunity to say to the person, like, I'm sorry, I totally see that I was wrong, I do that. If I don't have that, that's not so good, because there's some people that are not around anymore that you cannot go back and say I'm sorry. So it's rather these are the things that I regret in general. It was actually 9 points, but yeah, that's it. In regards to just flying through it again, through to books, for example, that I didn't mention, is that like Hungarian books as well, obviously, and I like Moritz Zsigmond, because he is depicting the way of living in the countryside at the time. I really like that. I really, the book is, if I open a book, and I don't do it too often, unfortunately, but if I open it, it gets your fantasy going, and this is something very important. That if you go to a movie or see a play or whatever, it's all, you're being fed an image, you're being fed something. While with a book, you have to rely on your own imagination and the talent of the writer. So Moritz Zsigmond does it perfectly, and also Krudy Gyula, who is fantastic in describing the general vibe of Budapest, like 100 and more years ago. So I really love that, and I can indulge in it. Arthur Conan Doyle, Sherlock Holmes. I read every Sherlock Holmes book, okay, that there is. So I totally love that, and this is how I came actually to Jeremy Brett as the actor. So I could go on and on and on and on, really, about this list, because there's so many things. Last but not least, maybe the first point was origins, okay, and how could I sum it up? Who I am? I'm somebody who is totally open and trying to be as welcoming and as genuine as I can, with all my failures and all my bad habits and all my temper and all that. I'm a father of two. I have to mention that I have a child. I have 2 children. I have a daughter from a previous marriage, and I have a son from my current marriage with my wife. We got married in New York City. What a fantastic memory that is. And the good thing is that everybody gets along with the other as well. So all my children love each other. Even my ex-wife and my current wife, they like each other, talk to each other. So everything is good, and that was very important. And that was a very conscious decision made from all sides to approach this situation like that. And many people ask me when they hear my accent and hear me talking. So where's your home country? Where do you come from? Where do you feel home? And I was thinking about that. I get that everywhere. I used to live in Ireland as well, for example, for a number of years. I used to live in Germany. I'm living in Hungary. And yet I don't really feel any of those countries being my home, because I'm a foreigner no matter where I am. In Germany, I'm not totally German. In Hungary, and I'm not totally Hungarian. In Ireland, I'm not Irish, obviously. So what I tell these people is a quote from the mother of Karl Lagerfeld. I think Elizabeth was his name. I'm not exactly sure, actually, but I'm sure about the quote. And the quote is in German. When somebody asked her, so where is your Heimat? So where's your home? Where's your home country? Heimat in German is home country. Where do you feel home? Where do you feel at home? She answered, Heimat ist, wo ich bin. Ich bringe mich überall selbst mit hin. Meaning that my home is where I am, and I take care of myself. Meaning, I bring myself wherever I'm there, and that's my home. Okay, so that is maybe the summary, the best thing I could relate so far. I'm not wise enough to say something like that on my own, so I was relying on the brilliant genius Karl Lagerfeld's very strict and straightforward mother there. Thank you very much. And yeah, that was me with this weird list and with some stuff. I'm sure I forgot some things, but I hope it answered some of your questions, and I'll be back with more, but not about me, about fragrances. Take care.